Welcome to the Secret Keepers Podcast with your host, Corrine Zutleger. Join us as we uncover the hidden thoughts, stories, and moments that help bring light to the healing power of truth and examine how silence can affect us mentally, physically, and spiritually. We'll also share profound stories, interviews, and transformative narratives to help release ourselves from the hidden and step into healing towards inner peace, joy, and fulfillment. Now, here's your healing strategist and host, Corrine.
Welcome to the Secret Keepers Podcast. Today, I have the most amazing guest, Miss Veenu Keller, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself.
Corrine, it is so great to be here on your podcast. I'm so proud of you, first of all, for doing this. And so I'm Veenu Keller, as Corrine said. I am the founder of In-Home Turnarounds. We're actually moving with families for 4 days and help them have a complete home transformation. I'm a coach. I'm the instructor for the Neuroencoding Institute and the method of coaching. I'm a mom of 6. I'm married. I have 2 grandkids, and I am a lover of opportunity and possibilities in life.
An amazing coach, because not only is Veenu the coach for the Neuroencoding Institute, which I am a part of, she is also my personal coach in helping me step into all of my fullness, of which I appreciate. So she's very good at what she does. I can attest to that. So in Veenu, here at the Secret Keepers, we are about bringing things to light. And um, I I know a little bit of your story, and I know how you work with parents and youth, and I love that and admire because it's just such a great impact leaving legacy to be able to help families transform and change the course in their direction. Can you just tell the audience a little bit about what set you down that path?
So my childhood did, I struggled in my childhood with a lot of bullying, and I grew up not appreciating my skin color, appreciating like where I've come from, my roots, feeling like I was too much for people. I felt isolated. I felt left out. And as I grew up and I got through all those things that I felt were holding me back, and I really got to tune into who I was and love me and create that self-worth and self-love, I started to realize that how many other teenage kids feel that way, that, oh, you're depressed, or, oh, you feel this way, or, oh, you're not doing enough here. Instead of asking the questions like, what is going on? What is happening in your life that you don't like how you look, or you don't love yourself? There was no questions asked to me, and I felt like there was no safe space. Like, even though I had a therapist where we got to tell our secrets, if you would, but yet my mom would know, and my mom would be upset, like, why did you say that? You didn't tell me that. And I felt like there was no safe space for me as a child. And I did cut, and I was suicidal, like throughout my childhood, my teenage years, throughout my young adult life. Like, I couldn't wait to die. And I don't want that. I think my mission in life, I know your mission is to eradicate abuse. Mine is to eradicate suicide in kids. Well, in life, but especially kids, because kids haven't even had a chance to live. Like, you want to kill yourself because of the way life is right now. You have no idea 2 years from now how your brain develops, how something else is going to come up in your life, and how it's going to be beautiful, and you're going to miss out. And so I feel like it starts at home. I've had my own children challenges with my own children, especially my older 2, because I was raising them with the baggage that I had had since I was a kid. And when you do that, and you're one, because I know that's one of the things that you help people is, like, even before they're having kids, like, how do we release those baggage so we're not putting that in utero and then
Mm.
proceeding to give it to our kids through raising them. And um that's exactly kind of what happened with my first two. And then my other two that I had that are only 12, it's a different me, but I'm still also learning through it, right? Like I'm still also learning that how do I install the self-love and self-esteem and self-worth in them now? And finding, because I didn't have it when I was a kid. So I don't know what it was like as a kid to have that. And just seeing the difference in the way they talk, like they say, they're definitely feel that they have a voice because I definitely hear it.
Yes.
And just like going through the boundaries of like what's too much and not acceptable and what is okay without quieting the voice.
Yes. Oh, I agree with that so much. There, my mom's one of her favorite sayings when I was growing up was like, children are to be seen and not heard. And she would say that. And um, then when I was raising mine, she would be like, Crane, you let them have way too much say in their life. And I'm like, they're going to always have a voice, Mom. It doesn't
Right.
mean they get what they want. It's just they always get to articulate that and giving them that space to be able to say it. And even that didn't always mean that they were going to open up and talk about it, right? Because there's some things that we just don't want to talk with our mom, right? I mean, maybe a sibling, but thank you so much for sharing all of that because, you know, we can, especially as moms, carry around a lot of guilt about, like there's also kind of the oldest is the kind of the guinea pig, if you will, right? Because in parenting, and each child is different, and we're new to this, and there's no manual really that comes out, and then there's always more science that helps us come alongside of being able to parent because the brain science and how to do things, and the reality of it is they're going to do what they're going to do, and this is Earth School. And
Right.
we're really working on, we're causative beings, right? So we're going to cause things, and sometimes we're going to be on the effect of that as well. But thank you for sharing that. And when you started to recognize that this this is not where I want to be, I'm having these thoughts and I'm having these feelings, and they're really crunchy. I'm feeling like I don't belong here in this world, and those things are scary. What helped you? Like, what started you on a path to healing that?
Honestly, it was me going to my first Tony Robbins event in 2007. And I was hesitant to go because it was something that I had no idea about. I didn't know who Tony was. And they're like, oh, the movie Shallow Hal. And I'm like, I don't know what
Yeah.
that is. Right. So, um, and I went to it and it just changed my life.
Awesome. That's so awesome. And it's so interesting too how like one thing you can go to one event and it can click for you and set you down a path of healing. And so you go to
Right.
this event and like it opens up a whole new world for you. And then what?
Exactly. That was like my biggest fear. Now what? Like,
Now what?
okay, so I know this is a possibility and I know I need to rewrite my story and I know I don't have to be the victim of, oh, poor me, I was bullied and I didn't want to live, because in that seminar, I realized like, I'm going to live. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to live. I'm not going to take my life. I'm going to make something of myself and leave a legacy behind. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And that was the scariest decision I had to make. It's
Yeah.
almost easy. It was almost easier knowing, okay, well, I'm going to kill myself in 2016. My son's grown up. They don't need me. I've done my job. And it's like, that was my light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't have to suffer anymore, but I didn't realize that I was creating my own suffering by the stories I kept telling myself. I was
Yeah.
creating my suffering by the way I was living my life. You don't live to wait to die. You live in the presence and being grateful and seeing all the great things that have been provided for you through God. Like I'm a godly person, so I attribute this to God. And once I started to realize that, I started to change who I hung out with. I started to change the patterns. I started to see The people I wanted to be like, I started to see the values that they had. I started to adopt those values. I started to appreciate things and just be in gratitude. And I started to build my self-confidence, and I started to build my self-love, and I started to believe in myself while other people believed in me first. And I needed those people. Like, I have a very dear friend, her name's Lauren Lahab, and I will always say that I would never be who I was if it wasn't for her, because she was the one person who believed in me before I even could believe in myself. And I think everybody can use that. Who's behind you?
Yes,
Who's saying,
absolutely.
I can see in you what you can't see, but I'm your biggest cheerleader.
Absolutely. I have a Paul Martinelli was on the show before, and he was the mentor that would say, you know, just borrow my belief in you. And there were days where I was like, you know, if he can believe in me, I can do anything, right? And we need that as humans, right? Because we need that connection. We're wired for that connection, and we need somebody else to come behind, come alongside of us and say, "I got you." I know you can do this. I see your greatness, because
Yeah.
we have that in us, and it's amazing, like the things that you've been able to accomplish. But more than accomplish is the inner safety that you created for yourself.
Right. I have a
And
TV show that had, I'm
I
sorry.
guess like, that's okay. Go,
It
you
was,
go.
it cut out. The connection was not good. I'm so sorry. I was just saying that what you were saying is, like, I have a TV show that has 4 million views a week. It's called Redefine Parenting. And to get up and do that once a week, and to know that 4 million people are going to listen to what I have to say and what my guests have to say, is amazing. And people say, well, how much do you make from it? Do you make anything from it? Nothing. Nothing. I do it because if one person hears my show, just like you, if one person hears your show and it changes them, then that's everything I'm doing it for. And that is what fuels me. The internal me is how many people I can support and help. It's not the money. It's not, oh, you're making so much money doing this. No, it's how many people I get to support in connecting with their kids, connecting with themselves, connecting with their partners.
Absolutely. Because when you've experienced it yourself, what it's like to be bullied. What it's like to have suicidal ideation, to struggles with those thought processes. What it's like to be, bullied for the color of your skin. Um, when you have those sort of experiences, you can start to really look at the world, and it gives you all those different perspectives, right? Because you've been through this, you can see this, and then you want to help, and you want it to ripple out and leave that lasting impact, that legacy for yourself and for your children. There are going to be people that come, probably up to your kids long after your, physical body has left earth, and they're going to be like, what, your mom changed my world. I mean, that just sends goosebumps through my body. Like, yes, yes, we want to be able to take everything, right? And I think that's the beauty of us being coaches and having our, podcasts and TV shows, is that we can streamline things for people. We've read the books, we've gone to the workshops, we've done the things, and here's what we have to say after all of those learnings, right? Take this knowledge, take it, and you use it now and help change your family's life, your life first, and then your family's. Um, and it's so beautiful. And, I know, like, you started like going to Tony Robbins, but what did the process look like after that?
So it was executing. It was executing what I learned, because so many people go to these seminars and the camaraderie is great. Don't get me wrong, but they became my peer group. Like, some of my best friends in the world are all over the world because they've been on this journey with me. I watched them grow. They watched me grow. We grow together. We cheer each other on. We've been there for each other's kids. And it's like, that's what I did. I surrounded myself by people who were hungry for growth like I was. Someone
Yes.
that wasn't going to stay satiated to like where they were in life and say, this is it, this is good. Like, oh, I have a business. Oh, I go and do these community things and this is my life and that's it. Like, no, what's next? Like, what's your next level? And that's what I want to inspire people to be, is like, wake up tomorrow and ask yourself, what what's my next level? How am I going to level up today?
Yeah. I see the Kool-Aid man, like, what wall can I knock down today? Right.
Yeah.
With that brick wall, right? It's like, today I'm gonna find, and exactly. And it's exciting, right? Because then you get excited about your life. And I loved how you were talking about, just taking in, all of the things that God has done in your life, in finding the simple joy in being present, the wonderment. In Wisconsin, where I am, we're in the fall season where the leaves are all like putting on this show. It's just so magical. And my husband and I just went away, and all I could say as we're driving down the road is, it's so beautiful, it's so magnificent, it's just, oh, it's so outstanding. And then it got to a point where I was just like, okay, I won't say it anymore. I'm just going to sit over here and smile so I'm not super annoying. But just being in that moment and enjoying it, instead of beating myself up for maybe the mistakes I made as a mom, as a real young mom, living in the past experiences, of childhood, of growing up in poverty, and with childhood trauma, right? We get to move through those things and learn and grow and celebrate the beauty that's around us. And I
Yeah.
and I love that. And I love that your process, it took you through, you know, the healing of you and the healing of your family, and just right, because it takes back generations of things that family members were that were instilled in them, and they didn't even know what they didn't know, right?
Right. I was just in India last week and I haven't been back in 35 years. I was born in America and my parents divorced when I was young, which was unheard of in our family. And my mom sent me to boarding school for the last 2 years of my high school, which was very difficult for me. And I have
Mhm.
not been back since 1991. And when I went back, I realized how fortunate I am to live in America, to have hot water without turning it on every day, to have a dryer that dries my clothes where I don't have to go and hang up my clothes every day,
Mhm.
and still admiring the beauty around me that I saw in India,
Mhm.
and feeling connected to my motherland,
Mhm.
and looking at how the culture is and the expectations, and knowing that my mom did the best that she could with what she knew being raised there and then coming and raising kids here, and looking at how much of it was a duty, like being a mom, like you're raised as a woman to love your husband, you get married off, and you got to love, have sex, make dinner, take care of the kids. Like it's a duty. It's not because, oh, I found this person. Like you found Vaughn, you guys fell in love, you guys created a family. I found Brian, I fell in love, I created a family. But that's not how it was back then. And um when we talk about secrets kept, it's in our DNA. And I had to learn, and I learned this a while back by doing, I was healing myself through doing some plant medicine. And it came to me during that time that love is not my duty, it's my honor.
Well,
And
that's so.
it was such a generational thing from generation. When you look at my whole generation on this earth today, it's Indian, right? And we're taught that. And to see how I needed to change that so I could pass it on to my daughter is something different. That when you love someone, it's your honor. It's not your duty. When you mother your kids, it's not your duty. It's your honor. When you make dinner for your family and you put so much love and time into it, it's not a duty. It's your honor. And figuring that out,
Mm.
I always say better late than never.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I actually just had the same sort of conversation in a workshop this past weekend where we were able to talk about that, about how instead of seeing it as a burden, right? Enjoying the raising of your children. Um, being in I'm in a phase now where our children have moved to opposite coasts. They're very independent. Um, our house is quiet, and it's a real different place to be. Um, in looking at it and thinking, I'm still really young.
Yeah.
Have a lot of years to do all the things that I want to do whenever I want to do them. And it's beautiful, right? But I know too, for me, there was a bit where I was like, oh, this is a lot of work, and running the kids and making the supper and doing the laundry and doing the chores, and just, I'm like, who signed me up for this? Right. And then it's like, well, yeah, I signed me up for this, right? But I love that. I love your perspective. It is an honor because
Yeah.
not everybody chooses it. And for many, even though they would love to be, they don't get to be,
Right.
right? And I hold space for that as
For
well.
sure.
Uh, yeah, just so much. Um, so I know that um, you briefly touched on the suicidal ideation, and but you briefly touched on cutting, and so I know that physically you were affected. Would you say that or mentally, emotionally affected um by the secrets that you were keeping over the years?
I would
Is
say
it
that, you know, it actually was my motivator to let go of the secrets. Like, I wrote a book called Numb years ago. It was a number one best-selling on Amazon. And it was not just my story. I was going to make it about my story. And then I realized that the whole purpose of this book was for people to have an understanding about cutting and different perspectives by people who did cut. And a couple of the people that wrote in the book were actually my clients who, through coaching, they stopped cutting and they wrote their story.
oh,
And I will say this, that people at the time, they cut for two reasons. It's either you just need to numb the pain.
mhm,
You just need to numb it. There's just so much going on, and you rather feel the pain on the outside, like, and just see it heal, and it just kind of numbs it. And then the other part is that, for me especially, I was internalizing everything, and like it literally would hurt my heart that I rather feel the pain on the outside of my body than feel it on the inside of my body. And so I cut for those reasons. Now, with working with clients, it's almost a trend. Like, kids are doing it all the time. And then you get in a group of friends, they're like, oh, you know what I do? I just cut. They're like, oh, you cut? And they're like, yeah, it makes you feel better. Just do it in a place where no one's going to see it. And like, it's sad. You don't know if your kid's cutting anymore. Because you're not in the bathroom with them looking at their inner thigh or underneath their arm or whatever,
yeah.
and it's sad that we're in a place like that, instead of giving kids that space where they can process what is going on with them, how they're feeling, how do they want to feel, taking accountability for their feelings.
Oh,
We're in a world now where we want to save our kids and rescue them and make sure they're
mm,
okay, that we're not allowing them to fail forward, you know.
absolutely. Right, to work through there, maybe they
Yeah.
need to be able to problem solve, right? They need to be able to work through the problem, but we can come alongside
Yes.
them to help them through that process. And when we just jump in and we're like snow plowing away, and we're like, we're just gonna fix it all for you, and then they don't come out with skills that they need as adults. And it's
Yeah.
like, but I love your mission, and I love what you do. And it's so near and dear to my own heart, because I know the impact that you're making, and I just love it. Um, tell me, what kind of wisdom have you gained, um, from bringing all of the things to light, and even going back to India this past month, and in revisiting an area where it was kind of a sore subject for you. What what kind of wisdom have you gleaned over all of these years and through your whole journey that you could share with the audience?
I would say this, that my entire life was happening through me and for me. That I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't go through my childhood. I don't feel sorry for my childhood. I don't feel sorry for the little girl, Veenu, who looks at me every day. She looks
Yeah.
at me every day. There's nothing that I feel bad for this little girl for. I honor her for what she went through, because being her, growing up to be me, has helped me to want to help other people in the world. And if I had never experienced it, I couldn't help the other kids out there that need this. I couldn't understand their model of the world the way I do. And even my kids, like, I understand them in a way, but I'm also their mom, and
Mm,
they go through their own challenges. Someone said, they're not your walking, talking business card. And I'm like, you're right. They're not. They're my kids. Just like a heart surgeon would not operate
right.
on their own child, you don't coach your own kids. You become their parent. I need to be their parent. And I'll just tell you, like, I have clients that their parents are their friends. And they say to me, they're like, I am so glad the relationship I have with my mom and my dad, or just my mom or whatever. Like, I know that we're like best friends, but you know what? I need a mom. I need a
Mm,
mom to just say, can I hold you? And it's okay. And tell me no and give me boundaries. And a lot of my clients don't have the boundaries. Their parents trust them to do what they want to do, and because they talk to them and stuff, but they're friends, they're not parents. And that's what we're missing right now, being
right.
the parent. And it's hard. Like, my kid tells me all the time, like, you don't get me, you don't understand. And I do, but I don't want to be your friend. I want to be your mama. You have enough friends. You're never going to have another mom. And I need to know I'm putting boundaries around you. And the fact that you're upset with me shows me that I'm doing something right.
Absolutely. And I think too, like there comes a point when, they're in adulthood and, I, just ask, like, just tell me, are you calling to vent? Right. Then you just need me to listen. That's cool. Are you calling for coaching advice? Because
Yeah.
they do, in adulthood, right? They want me to help them through something. Okay. Or you just calling because you want your mom, you
Right.
know, because it just makes it easier that way
Gives me
because we do
chills.
have those hats on. We're like,
Right.
and it gets kind of blurry, but you're working with younger kids. And so it's like, they do. I, I do see it, right? I see that where parents are, they're friends with their kids. And we were like, in our house, no, too, we were the meanest parents in Freedom,
Of
Wisconsin,
course.
because we had curfews and boundaries and things like
Of
that.
course.
And but we were all where everybody could come to because they knew like we're not gonna, the other parents knew, right? They knew that we had those boundaries in
Right.
place. And what great
I,
wisdom for you.
I would just say that, like, as parents, give yourself grace.
Yeah,
Don't have regrets. If you did something today, this morning, don't hang on to it. Let it go. Apologize to your kids. Let them know you're an adult and you make mistakes and you are sorry for the way your tonality was, or you're sorry for the way you approached it, and move on and give yourself grace and love, and don't dwell on it. Teach your kids to do the same thing. I tell my daughter all the time, I say, one of her gifts that I need to learn from is that she gets over it in 2 seconds. Like, she'll be mad at you, throw an absolute temper tantrum, and then 5 minutes later she comes out of your room and says, hey, you want to go get something to eat? And it's like, what just happened here? You know? And what a gift that she has, that she doesn't hang on to it. Like, she
yeah,
just lets it go.
yeah,
And we all need to learn from that. She definitely knows how to give herself grace.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I set our kids down. I sought forgiveness from them for things that I've done and over the years. And I still, like something will come out wrong. You say things you don't. It's not intentional, or right in the mistakes that we make as we're parents. We're not out here to wreck anybody's life. We're not
Mm,
doing it on purpose, right? We're doing the best we can with the
what we
information
have.
we have. And as we continue to evolve as human beings, our information might get a little bit better. Um, so I see that. Um, but anyways, it's been just such a pleasure to have you on here, Vinu. And please tell the audience how they can find you, the Parent Whisperer.
So I'm all over social media under Veenu Inspires. That's Veenu Inspires. My website is veenuinspires.com. Please visit me, reach out. I do free connection calls. If you just need to talk and get some little bit of advice, feel free to reach out.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I will have all of Venu's information in the show notes. So if you want to be able to reach out to her, just look for it there. And thank you for being on the Secret Keepers podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Secret Keepers podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please give us a like and follow so we can invite you back. And if you just want more, visit CorrineZuleger.com. Remember, you're not alone.